Good morning, Nigeria. I like to say that TVC has a finger on the pulse and our eyes on the streets. And here on the Trending Now segment, my team and I do our best, and it's our absolute pleasure to bring you all the trending stories that are shaping the world that you and I live in. We begin today with some news about tax, where the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, the LIRS, says that it will begin recovering unpaid taxes through third parties, including banks, employers, tenants, and business partners of defaulting taxpayers. Now, in a public notice that's dated January 21st, 2026, LIRS said the move is backed by Section 60 of the Nigerian Tax Administration Act 2025, allowing the agency to redirect money owed to a taxpayer straight to the government. Now, essentially, this means that once a tax liability is confirmed and remains unpaid, anyone holding or owing money to the taxpayer can be instructed to then pay the LRIS instead. LRIS clarified that any person who doesn't hold or owe funds to the taxpayer must notify the service in writing within the stipulated period, which is 30 days. Affected parties may also object in writing within 30 days of receiving a substitution notice in line with the law. The agency also added that defaulting taxpayers remain liable for any unpaid balance not recovered and advised them to settle outstanding assessments promptly in order to avoid penalties. Now, bottom line, in Lagos, tax debts can now reach beyond the taxpayer, but the law also allows you to respond, object, and clarify. Let's have a look at social media. Don't be a defaulting taxpayer. Let's have a look at what social media had to say about this. Malik says, this is not to defend Taiwo Yedele, but he clarified his position. He said nobody can debt you if you are not owing the government, and all options would have been exhausted before power of substitution is exercised. Why would a taxpayer be recalcitrant? Olamilekan says, where a taxpayer fails, neglects, or refuses to settle any established outstanding tax liability when due, LRIS may exercise its power under Section 60 to direct any of the following persons to pay the amount owed by the taxpayer. In case anyone missed this part of the circular, what the above means is that the tax authority must have communicated and given a notice period before they resort to any other means of collecting what is owed to the government. Now, team, I've got to tell you, there's been a lot of backlash online. People saying, how can Lagos State say that if you don't pay your tax, they can now, talk to people who are connected to you, your business partners, your tenants, your employers, so that those people, instead of paying money to you, now pay your tax debts directly to the Lagos State government. But what I feel that a lot of people don't understand is that this is a globally recognized and accepted tax enforcement tool. The United States, for example, have the IRS, and the IRS has something called tax levies and garnishments, which means that they can go to a taxpayer's account, release funds, freeze funds, and do as they please. Even the United Kingdom, the HMRC, the HM Revenue and Customs Service, has something called DRD, which is a direct recovery of debt. And they do the same thing. They talk to third parties if you are a recalcitrant taxpayer. Mr. Shomi, please speak to this. This is global best practice, and yet we're still experiencing such pushback. Ideally, you should be paying your tax, and if you don't, there should be sanctions in place.
It just shows that many people are not clear about all the explanations being given by the Nigerian Revenue Service and Taiwo Yedele also, because one thing which is very clear is this: what we used to have, what they call, the ombudsman or the tax commission. Now you have an ombudsman. If you are assessed, you are supposed to do your self-assessment. After doing it, whether they agree with you or not, if they agree with you, there is no issue. But if they have proof to say that, look, you are assessing yourself as liable to pay 5 million, when in reality there's 20 billion in your account, they will raise issues with it, and eventually you are bound to explain it. If you can't explain it satisfactorily, they give you a new assessment. If you disagree with it, you still have the right to appeal to the ombudsman. If at the end of the day you are liable, it means you are owing government, and then they have the right to take the money by any means necessary, through your bank account or some other means. And this is a global best practice anywhere in the world.
For me, Olamide, I'm worried that it's a global best practice, and why are some people kicking against it? I feel like ever since this new tax law came, some people are just fighting against it. I mean, some people even said it wasn't going to be implemented. And this is me telling Nigerians that I don't think we understand the importance of paying tax. Oftentimes, we've waived tax because we say we will not see the dividends. But we have a president now that is saying that, pay your tax. You will see good roads. You will see infrastructure. Because we feel like other countries are better, but we do not understand how all those other countries make sure that they pay their tax. It's quite worrisome to me that people do not even read this tax law. I tell you, people do not even understand it. They go to different places to hear from it. You need to read the tax law. You need to understand it properly, because I believe that, this law has come to help Nigeria. I believe that this law has come to make us accountable. We are not begging you to pay your tax. It is your duty to pay your tax. So all the setback, all the pushbacks, all the misinformation is just getting too much. I feel right about now, let's focus on paying our tax, and then we can now hold the government accountable when we don't see the dividends.
One thing I know is that from secondary school or primary school, they always tell us that one of the obligations as a Nigerian citizen is for you to pay a tax. And if you don't pay a tax, it's a criminal offense. So I do not know why people want to evade tax by any means unlawful. And if you do not do that, Lagos State and indeed any government can take it back, through lawful means. And we can't be asking for development, we can't be asking for infrastructure, health, or anything, demanding all of this without fulfilling our own obligations. I also want them to extend it to all those levies that they collect from, Ile-Epo, My 12, also go to Kajuru, go to Yobe, and all of that. They need to streamline all of this. If it's for the local government, they also need to be transparent. This is how much we've generated as revenue from the tax or levies or whatever, and this is how we intend to utilize it. So much so that Nigerians and indeed every citizen will be able to say, yes, the government is collecting this money and they're using it, to our own benefit.
Absolutely. Benjamin Franklin once said that only two things are certain in life. You either die, you must definitely die, and then you must definitely pay your tax.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your input, team. Moving on into the north, where Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf is facing a backlash online after distributing 600 motorcycles to social media influencers and digital content creators in the state. In a statement issued by his spokesperson, Sanusi Bature Dawakintofa, the governor said that this initiative is meant to improve grassroots coverage of government activities, allowing content creators to move easily across communities. Governor Yusuf said that social media plays a key role in shaping public opinion and promoting transparency, and he's urging the beneficiaries of these motorcycles to use them responsibly. While some beneficiaries have welcomed the move as timely, it's also attracted a lot of criticism online, and critics are describing the motorcycles as outdated and out of step with today's digital needs. Supporters of this distribution argue that the initiative reflects on-the-ground realities, where mobility remains key for grassroots coverage all across Kano State. Of course, as usual, this development has sparked a broader debate over how government support for digital creators should be structured and what forms of empowerment best align with Nigeria's evolving media and technology landscape. I wouldn't mind a motorcycle. What about me? Let's have a look at social media. Our fave online doc says, not computers, not laptops, not internet modems or Wi-Fi devices, not even sponsored seminars or training on digital marketing or social media communications, not anything that adds something of value to the lives of those young people. He took the easy way out. He went to buy them motorcycles. Special advisor says, thousands of graduates roam the streets with certificates gathering dust, pushed into bike riding or content creation because real jobs are scarce and wages are poor. Instead of expanding employment opportunities, supporting industries or creating sustainable work, the government chooses to hand out motorcycles as incentives. I'll take one more tweet. Finally, Design Plug says, it's heartbreaking how easily we settle for optics instead of outcomes. Giving out bikes is a quick photo op. It's not a strategy. If we truly care about our youth, let's invest in their future, not just their mobility. Real empowerment requires investment in skills and infrastructure. Now, team, like I said, this has received a lot of backlash online. A lot of people are accusing Governor Yusuf of employing old tools in the new and digital economy. They're saying that with these motorcycles, he's offering these content creators mobility, but no monetization, no training, and no infrastructure to propel them into the global world, Mr. Shomi.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that there are a lot that can be done to help the youths, particularly if we are interested in they being able to exploit the social media, for personal benefit or for economic benefit. So a lot can be done in terms of exposure training, opening an IT center, connectivity issues, within Kano State. The issue of bicycle or motorcycle is a different game completely. Maybe the governor knew, maybe he's interested in concentrating on rural areas where people need to, they have poor mobility issues there. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is a lot can still be done in terms of infrastructure, the technological backbone, for the youth to exploit social media.
So for me, Olamide, I will not totally knock this down, because I think that, with the bike as well, for mobility, it's not a bad idea. But I just feel like more has to be done. I'm not going to say a lot of youth. Some youths in Kano, majority of youths in Kano, they are not educated. And we know the foundation of education. We know how important education is. We're talking about content creators. It doesn't correlate bike and a content creator. So that's why people are saying that, why give bikes when you could have given laptops, when you could have given, things that they can use to just make themselves better. But I also don't want to be unappreciative and just knock this down. But to Abba Yusuf, I just want him to know that there is more that can be done. And, if we have a lot of youths educated in your state, it's a good one for you as well, because then they can contribute immensely in the progress of the state. So yes, you've done this. We hope it's not for the optics, because oftentimes we see politicians give things like this for the content creators to promote it and for his name to be heard in a positive light. We hope that you gave it, for reasons best known to you and for reasons that, they need mobility. But this is our cry to you, that the youths in Kano State, they deserve more, they need more, and more should be given to them. Yeah,
asking for more is not out of place, but this, I do not think anything is completely wrong, because I believe that he also has research team who must have gone, do their research, maybe over the month, over the years or whatever, and then they recommended that. I've stumbled on several contents on TikTok, Instagram, etc., whose language I don't understand, but I know that they are from the north, and they have large, cult following, and I understand what logistics means to content creation, even to conventional journalism. We know how logistics is very, very key. So if the government is saying that it wants these people to get to the rural areas to, do a minister government work, or maybe minister whatever, anything, because they know the import of opinion leaders, because content creators are the, latter day opinion leaders. So he's trying to utilize that to his own effect, to his own what's it called? To his own advantage. So altogether, whatever it is, it's also going to benefit them individually. If they want to run errands, do one or two things outside of what the government has asked them to do, we use the bike for.
But Ibrahim, quickly, my fear as well is that I hope they don't now use this thing to thief and other things, because oftentimes people with a motorcycle, they move very fast and things like that can happen. So I really hope that the people they've given it to are upright people as well. I wish they check the people they give it to.
That's another conversation
entirely. The digital economy requires digital tools. Thank you so much for your input, team. Moving on into the world of social media, this story warmed my heart. A young Nigerian model named Prince Charles and the agent who discovered him are trending online after his rapid rise from the streets of Port Harcourt to the global fashion stage. Now, Prince Charles was spotted in August last year by FS Model Management after a video surfaced on the internet showing his natural stage presence and his height caught attention online with no formal audition involved. He was later flown to Lagos for months of professional training before being introduced to international agencies. And by January 2026, the teenager has just made his runway debut for Louis Vuitton and has since worked for Dior and Mihara Yushiro, a rare achievement even in elite fashion circles. Industry watchers are saying that his journey does reflect a growing shift, with African agencies increasingly connecting raw local talent to global platforms. So here's the question I have for my audience today. How many world-class talents are walking past us every day, simply just waiting to be seen and given a chance? Let's have a look at social media. Its inner child says, "This is truly admirable. It shows that there are still people who can see potential and beauty in everyone, willing to go the extra mile to change someone's life, even without being asked. I hope this journey only goes greater and that Prince Charles builds a memorable, inspiring career that reminds everyone what vision, belief, and opportunity can do." Urobo Water says, "As a parent, I'm not letting my handsome sons go into this kind of life at this age. I'm too traditional for this. You must have a measurable skill set and be mature enough before embarking this on your own terms. There are some other parts to this exposure that are public knowledge that I cannot ignore." And finally, Boxy says, "May your helper locate you is a very serious prayer." True. Amen. Now, team, this story just highlights the fact that there is so much underground talent often walking around unseen. And we are pioneers and cultivators of this talent. And so I ask you, team, today, how much amazing talent is walking around us, but we're too myopic to see it.
There's no doubt. If you look at Nigeria, Nigeria is full of many skilled, youths in our country. I mean, you're talking about great talents, whether it's in music, entertainment, now we have it in fashion, in sports, and all that. So, for me, I think we should congratulate the talent hunters. That's the agency, and also Prince Charles. And I hope more people will be interested in our youths in Nigeria. There are great skills in this country.
Olamide, when I say these things oftentimes, that we are the giants of Africa, people think that I'm joking. Like, the talent in Nigeria is just a whole lot. And sometimes we do not understand the amount of talent. Like, look at how tall he is. And Olamide, I've been seeing different guys, tall, really handsome, that I feel like maybe we should spotlight one.
Let's talk about it.
We need to do that. But he's so good looking. And I'm happy that his helper located him. That's another prayer I pray every morning. May my helper really locate me and help me. So it's beautiful to him. Congratulations. And for the person that said, they won't want their child to go into modeling. Modeling is good business. A lot of people make money from modeling. I mean, if I had a son and he wants to be a model, even Olamide, I need to push you to modeling really soon because you have it in you. But yes, big ups to him. I wish him the very best, and I'm just hoping that he makes not just himself proud, he makes his parents proud, and most importantly, makes Nigeria proud.
I think he needs to just stop shouting, No, but
Olamide will be our model here. We'll push her out.
Sometimes it makes
why are you hating on
Don't hate.
When you talk in that fashion. but it's quite interesting, when you see someone coming out of Nigeria, to the global stage, it makes me feel happy. Makes me feel like we are not just exporting anything out of the country, but we're also exporting talent, beauty, love, and even tall persons, as Ria and Olamide often like. But I do not pray that a story, turns around and become that of the Olajumoke Oniburedi. Remember that lady who was spotlighted in Osun State at the time? Well, then she made a comeback, to become a radio presenter. But kudos to you, guys.
Absolutely. Now, team, I'm going to walk away with my very tall, long,
model-like self.
Can you just take it away, please?
Moving on to more serious news. The detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has been granted honorary citizenship of the state of Georgia in the United States. He was also recognized as an outstanding citizen and accorded the status of a goodwill ambassador, according to a proclamation that was issued by Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, on behalf of the Republican-controlled state. Now, the proclamation is dated 16th of January and was formally presented on the 23rd of January in Milledgeville, one of Georgia's capital cities, by State Representative Gab Okoye. And the certificate was received on Kanu's behalf by Ambassador Uche Ajulu-Okeke, Nigeria's former Consul General to South Africa, who described Nnamdi Kanu as one of Africa's most prominent political prisoners and a global prisoner of conscience. Recall that Nnamdi Kanu is currently serving a life sentence in Sokoto prison following his conviction by a federal high court in Abuja. He continues to deny the treason-related charges against him. Of course, this development has sparked fresh reactions online and has reopened debates around Kanu's detention, international attention on the Biafra agitation, and the wider politics that surround Nnamdi Kanu's case. Let's have a look at social media. Its inner child says, I'm genuinely confused. Refugee protection was meant for people fleeing violence, not those accused of driving it. So let me understand this clearly. Someone widely described as leading a violent separatist movement at home is now being honored abroad. When did honorary citizenship start looking like a reward for instability? If leaders of armed movements can be rebranded as honorary citizens overseas, then we need an honest conversation about what justice and accountability actually mean. And if this is what refuge means now, then the word has completely lost its leverage. MedLife Network says Nigeria labeled him a terrorist, but the US just labeled him a citizen. This isn't just an award, it's a diplomatic slap in the face. While the federal government is spending billions to keep him in a cell, the world is validating his influence. You can detain the body, but you clearly can't detain the narrative. The DSS just became bodyguards for an American VIP. Team, there's a lot to unpack here. Legally, this has no binding in the Nigerian state, Mr. Shomi. It does not amount to foreign intervention. It does not amount to U.S. foreign policy. Although his lawyers are free to cite this honorary citizenship in advocacy or appeals, but ideally, it doesn't really hold any weight. But socially, it does strengthen the IPOB narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. This only has propaganda value, and that is all. It does not confer citizenship of America on Nnamdi Kanu. It does not, reflect the Americans' foreign policy in relation to the eastern part of Nigeria, the southeast Nigeria. We should not forget one thing, that even Kanu himself, based on the evidence presented in the courts, threatened the Americans, threatened the British, to the point that even though he's a British citizen, have we seen the British really concerned about him, citing the fact that he's their national? We have not seen all that. So what seems very clear is that Gabo Koye,
That's right.
who is highly influential, in the state of Georgia, has been able to pull this out. You can see all the people involved, in this award. The fact of the matter is, it does not help Kanu. It only has a propaganda value, just for people to keep, drumming some noise. He went through the due process. He was processed. We saw his behavior in court.
That's right.
And he has the right to appeal. And he has appealed. So let us wait for the outcome.
Of course, we have to wait and see what happens. Because of our time, I wouldn't hammer much on this, but this is just straight propaganda. We saw the harm that this man caused. When we talk about Nnamdi Kanu, it reminds a lot of people of so much pain. And I do not understand this, but I feel like it's a propaganda, honestly speaking.
A whole lot of people praise them, Adolf Hitler. Some are still praising them. In fact, some are praising, the current Israeli prime minister who had, murdered, genocided, more than 60,000 Palestinians and even Christians among them. So it's not news. It's just whitewashing. We saw the Kano narrative, during the answers, etc. And then we also see the devastation that's done to the southeast. It's not surprising if anyone is giving Simon Ekpa, this kind of award. It's all the same.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your input, team.